Ellen Mirojnick, costume designer for Oppenheimer. You've worked with a lot of incredible directors before, but this is your first time with Christopher Nolan. So what was it like working with him?
Working with Chris was just the absolute finest, the best that I could have ever experienced. But I love working with him. He is the consummate director from beginning to end. The expectation, the delivery, the collaboration, his exacting work shooting the film, and frankly, what he shares as the screenwriter as well, what he shares with who he's collaborating with, so that we all feel the essence of the essence and the exactness, frankly, of what he wants to achieve as an end result. He doesn't expect anything from you that he wouldn't do himself. And I mean, it is a total joy. He is an absolute dream to work with.
Mm-hmm. And he had such a specific vision for this film. Like I know he wrote the script in first person, and it's obviously totally from Oppenheimer's perspective. So what kind of notes did he have for you about the wardrobe?
Well, it was very, very specific from the very beginning. There were a few things which I'll tell you about. The first thing was that given that it was from Oppenheimer's point of view and from his vision, the first note was no one but Oppenheimer will wear a hat. Now that is a
Great
bit
hat.
shocking for a period film, and a film that kind of it transverses 45 years. And during that period of time, everyone wore hats, but he did not want anyone to wear a hat. There is one other hat in the film, and that's Einstein's, and that is a very specific plot point. But no one was to wear a film. So that was number one. That was number one note, and that actually informed the rest of the design. I love designing menswear. I love designing for men. I've had great opportunity prior to Oppenheimer, but this was yet a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to be able to design this film in a way that, knowing how Chris works, in that he rips apart a story to put it back together again. And although the script is very, very, very specific, you are not necessarily, you might not know where the parts are going to wind up. So the second note that he shared was that he did not want to make, in our world building, because this was building this world for Oppenheimer, he didn't want to make it a precious piece, a precious period piece. And what that meant for us was that although we researched the entirety of this film, the entirety of every single character, that he didn't want to feel as if we were documenting something. He wanted it to feel looser. He did not want to have anything stylized in terms of, sometimes when we do the background and so on, we do different kind of organizational methods to achieve a particular kind of look. He was not interested in that. He wanted it to feel as if it was organic. And one of the first and biggest words that were used was feeling, and what it feels like. And the film, on as an overall note, was that what we hoped for was that it would be a seamless movie, that
Mm-hmm.
you would not know, you would not have place cards of 1935, 1925, 1945, etc. He wanted to be able to, I call it kind of a sliding doors method, of being able to move all of the characters around in a way that you will follow the story, because you'll follow it through Oppenheimer's eyes. And that you won't be concerned with what period of time, what's the year, Where does this take place?
Well,
And
it's interesting because like I think like Oppenheimer's like style and the silhouette is unchanged the whole time.
what we found first in the research when we laid out all of Oppenheimer from beginning to end of his life, his silhouette stayed the same. Where it changed was because of his weight. So that happened, and what that achieved, Oppenheimer had a very great style. He was very presentational. He loved fine clothes, fine fabrics, and he was a very stylish fellow. And the way he wore his trousers were a bit more voluminous. The way he wore his jackets were a bit more voluminous. They felt like the period. They weren't preciously specific. The way he wore a three-piece suit was a little bit different than others of the period. He had his own, and that was really one of the most fabulous things of designing for a man who has a particular style, that you have to sculpt his silhouette in a way that will match the sculpting of his face, the sculpting of everything from head to toe, inclusive of his hat that we finally feel. And then when he builds Los Alamos and he comes into his power, he changes.
That's a great scene.
He changes.
That's his like superhero moment.
It was a superhero moment, but that's how men can have a superhero moment. I think that we take for granted because there isn't a distraction, I would say, of any type of embellishment. We are just talking with sculpture, with form, silhouette, and feel. And what we did was that we changed the fabrication to be a fabrication of a twill and a high twist twill to match into more of a New Mexican type of palette, and give him a bit more strength in a workwear type of way in a two-piece suit. And his superhero look was, of course, topped off by his hat.
What went into that hat? Because it's like a fedora, cowboy brim.
I don't know that there's a name for it. I don't know that there was a name for it, but
just the Oppie hat.
It's an Oppie hat, yes. But I would say that if you took a pork pie hat or a smaller fedora crown, and you added a Western brim, you might get an Oppie hat, because it wasn't an urban hat. It wasn't citified in any way. It had a wider brim and a short crown, and it was trimmed in leather. But we had to search quite far for the person who was going to actually make the hat as perfect as we could possibly do. We searched Europe. Somehow or other, the hand of the fabrication didn't match the test that we needed to make when Chris Nolan touched that hat and knew he could shape the brim the way he wanted to shoot the image.
Right.
So Europe didn't work out. We went to New York. New York didn't work out. And we found the perfect hat maker in Mark at Baron Hats in Hollywood, California.
Wow.
He did it perfectly. He was the last one, but he did it perfectly. The color match was exquisite. The hand was beyond sublime. It had absolutely the perfect weight and feel and matched every photograph that we used for reference. We were so happy. Everybody was happy. And we put it on Killian's head, and it became magic.
That was him. That was the man. Yeah. Now it's iconic. So, well, Ellen, it was great speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time. And we'll see you back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.